Hello there. In this video, I'm going to be playing through the songs in the Alfred All-in-One course, Book 1. This book I typically use with students from ages 6 to 9 years old. And I start on page 26 with them because a lot of what's covered in the beginning are things like finger numbers, hand position, curving your fingers, posture, and also naming the keys. So a lot of that I cover without guiding or directing the students through the book that covers that, at the parts of the book that covers that. And it also gets students playing on the black keys, some which I don't cover later because then those really literally don't come into play until students are roughly about a third or so of the way through book 2. Also keep in mind with some of these first songs starting on page 26 that although I'm going to be including the proper rhythm with some of those initial songs before we start to get on the music staff, which is on page 38. With some students, I don't start to teach them about the rhythm when playing these songs starting on page 26 before we get to page 38 until after I've assigned some of those songs just to get them playing. So it really depends on the student. But I always teach rhythm and how to count out the notes on the songs between pages 26 and 38 before we get to page 38, so that by the time they get on the music staff, they also know about the rhythm and note values or how to count out the notes by the time they start to learn to read music on the actual music staff. The song on page 26 is Dino, My Pet Dinosaur. The next song on page 28 is My Clever Pup. And the next song is The Zoo. These songs all have a repeat sign, but for all intents and purposes, I'm playing through these once just so students can hear and parents can hear how these are supposed to sound. Okay, and that was The Zoo on page 29. Something changes when we switch from page 29 to 30. The students for these first 3 songs are going to have both of their thumbs on each hand. I should say their right thumb and their left thumb are sharing middle C. When we move to page 30, and a chart on the top of the page as well as on the previous pages show where the students' hands go. Starting here on page 30 and throughout the remainder of the book, students will be moving their left pinky to the C below middle C. This is called playing in a new position on page 30. The next song is on page 32, Sailing. The next song on page 33 is What Can I Share? And this song starts with the left hand. On page 34 here is Wishing Well. This has a much different rhythm pattern than all the other songs that I've played so far. Okay. Our next song will be on page 38 in the book. It starts to introduce the music staff a little bit, concepts such as line notes and space notes. And about the music staff, here on page 38 is the first song with notes on the music staff. The bass clef, the bass staff introduces the bass clef sign, which basically tells you that the songs are to be played with the left hand. And your left hand will continue to be with your pinky on that C below middle C, because as I mentioned, both hands are going to be in the same part of the piano that we switched to, at least in terms of the left hand when we got to page 30. Page 38. And here when we get to page 39 with Rain, Rain, this is the first song where the letters of the notes are not written there except for the starting note of the F in the left hand. And there's a little chart there showing how to read C, D, E, F, and G in the left hand based on the position of the notes on the music staff. Next on page 40 we have Mrs. Murphy's House. This song also just writes in a few of the notes, including the F that it starts with, the G that is the fourth note, and then also the G that is the fourth note on the second bottom part of the song. Here on page 41 we have Circus Day, and here they only write the letter G on the first note in the left hand. I'm going to play through that one more time because one of these notes was not so clear. When we turn to page 42, it introduces the treble clef sign, which lets you know that on the music staff, the notes that are written following the treble clef sign are for your right hand. Again, like on page 38, here they write real notes on the music staff, but have all the letters there for you. And when we get to the next page, the first song where they don't have letters on the notes except for the very first one, they have a little chart showing you how to read C, D, E, F, G, this time in your right hand. Here's what they have on page 42. Page 43, a happy song. Next we have Gee We're Glad, another all right hand song. And there they just have the G written as the first note. And the next song on page 45, Up to the Moon, only has the C written in your right hand that the song begins with. Next, the book introduces the grand staff. The grand staff is simply when they start to put the music staff with the treble clef sign for the right hand notes, and the bass staff with the bass clef sign for notes for the left hand, and they put them together. So from this point in the book on for students, the music staff for the right hand and the left hand go across the page like this, and they're connected by a bracket, the way that that's written in the music. This is called C position on the grand staff. Okay, I'm going to get over to page 50. Students always enjoy this because it's a well-known, famous song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat. This song, like what I just played, has right hand and left hand parts with just single notes, one hand at a time. One more time. Okay, over here on page 51, we have a different arrangement of a happy song that has right and left hand parts, as opposed to the other version of a happy song that I played a little while ago that was all right hand. It starts with the left hand. Okay. Next we have seesaws. This has right and left hand parts, and so will the songs going forward in the book. Okay, this introduces what's called a slur sign, which means to play legato, which basically means it has to do with the phrasing of music and that each of the parts with the slurs sound smoothly connected together. The next song on page 53 is Biking. It starts with the left hand. Okay. The next song on page 54 is called Just a Second. Starts with the right hand. Okay, our next song on page 56 is Gliding. Next we have Balloons on page 57. Starts with your left hand, and this introduces the concept of tied notes. Tied notes are when two notes in a row, which are the same exact note, are connected by a curved line. The line can go under like this, or it can go over like this. It all much has to do with aesthetics and where the note is on the music staff. When you have that, you do not play the note when it occurs the second time, but you continue to count the note out, which means that it just makes the note longer. Here's Balloons. Okay. Our next song is on page 59, Calendar Song. Okay, our next song is Play a Third on page 60. Okay, our next song on page 62 is Puppies and Guppies. Okay, this next song, as we get close towards the end of the first lesson book here in this series, is Just for Fun. And at the end of Just for Fun, there is one place where you play one single note in each hand, and it's played together. You should be able to hear it, and you should also be able to see that towards the end of the song. I'm going to play through that one more time, and wanted to point out that a lot of times with students, when they see this song for the first time, because the right and left hand parts are not divided in the way they are in the other songs, so it isn't a matter of the whole first line being just right hand or just left hand, and then the bottom part of the song being the other hand. So what I ask students to do is to take a pen or pencil, or maybe even their hand, and if you go across like this, across the page, which I think will look backwards on this video. But in any case, if you take your hand or a pen or pencil across the page, just picture it that you still read from left to right, like when you're reading a book. So whether the notes are down lower because they're in the bass clef, so they're for the left hand, or whether they're up top in the treble clef, so they're for the right hand. We go across, reading across the page from left to right, and we play in order whatever is down low or up high, depending on whether it's right hand part or left hand part. So I'm going to play through this one more time, and you should have heard before, and we'll hear again how the one note in your right hand comes in with the one note in your left hand when there's still, and then there's still two more left hand notes to play, and that right hand note is actually held out across till the end of the song. Okay. Here on page 64 we have another somewhat famous song, Mexican Hat Dance, that starts with left hand. Here on page 65 we have Our Team. Okay. There are just two songs left in this first book in the series after Our Team. The one on page 68 introduces the rest. That's, in this case, a beat of silence where there's no notes played. And then this is the first song where there are two notes played at the same time but in the same hand, and that occurs in each hand on the bottom part of the song. Rockin' and Rollin'. I'll play through that one more time. And then the very last song in this book, before a student would then proceed to the second book in this series. On page 70, the final song is Rock Song, very similar to the one on page 68 in that there are also rests in this song, and there are also two notes at a time sometimes. In the case of this song, that only occurs in your left hand. And that's the book in its entirety, other than the part at the beginning that I explained that I don't use with students, and had explained why. So that is the playing of each of those songs. I do teach note values and rhythms and so forth, as I explained for at the beginning, that sometimes students haven't been taught that yet, but I do teach that to students in person and remotely. So I wanted them just to hear the way the songs sound, including with the proper rhythm, which they do receive instruction in, but then by being able to play through these songs, it should help them with their practice, not only with reading and playing the right notes, but with their rhythm as well as demonstrated. And I hope that you found this to be a very helpful resource for your family to help the student or students in your home with their practice.